One of my favorite sayings is, I think my family was surprised when I became a priest. And they were flabbergasted when I became a federal officer. You know, I said, "Oh, that's kind of another step in a different direction." Not many priests want to do prison ministry. It's not very glamorous, and it's like working in a hospital. You keep meeting sick people all the time. In the prison system, you keep meeting crooks all the time, or people have had a little trouble with the law. But one of the meditations I have all the time, anybody can have trouble with the law. You know, you can run a speeding thing sometime, and you say the wrong thing to the officer, and believe me, you can spend the night in jail. So it's that's one of my favorite sayings. Anybody can wind up in jail. On the other hand, once you're in jail, you know, you lose a lot of rights. You know, you don't have a whole lot of rights, but your right to religion is one of the things you keep. You can be whatever religion you need to be, or you want to be. And I think that's what the chaplain does, is just kind of facilitate making religion possible. Sometimes the reason they hire chaplains, I don't think the government, just as an aside, really wants chaplains so much, but they don't want the hassle of lawsuits against them. So the chaplains, I think, probably reduce the amount of grouches against the government for stomping on people's religion inside the organization of the prison system. So one of the things for a Catholic priest is that when you get hired, you're not chaplain just for Catholics. You're chaplain for everybody. I do Muslim services. I do not run them, but I make sure they happen. And the same thing with the Native Americans. One of my favorite sayings about the prison system, I work far harder on the Native American service than I do on the Catholic service. In fact, I told that to somebody in what we call the SHU, that's special housing. If you're bad and break some rules, they put you in the solitary room called the SHU, or the confinement area. And it was a two-story fair over in Talladega, and one time I told a fellow on the lower range, or the row of cells, I said just that. I said, I work harder on the Native Americans than I do on the Catholic program. And he thought that was pretty funny. And so later on, well, maybe a week later, I was up in the upper range, and there was a Native American fellow up there, and he said, "I heard you've been talking about the Native Americans." And I said, what? I didn't know what he was talking about. I said, "I heard you told that fellow," and he mentioned what cell it was. He said that you worked harder on the Native American program than you did on the Catholic. I said, "Well, yeah, I have to take this wood in that you guys burn for in the Inipi for the the sweat lodge ceremony," and I said, "It takes me an hour to get the wood inside by the time I go through this rear gate, and even now they're x-raying the dang stuff, so it takes a while." And I said, "But I do a whole Catholic service in 45 minutes, so I said, in a way, I do work harder on the Native Americans." And again, he thought that was hilarious. But one of the observations that I make about chaplaincy is you're not a chaplain just for the Catholics. I think Catholic priests especially, "Oh, well, I'll be a good chaplain, I'll talk to Catholics." No, you got to talk to Rastafarians, Buddhist, Hindu, then some of the people like the Nation of Islam, the Sunni Muslims, the Sikhs, the Moorish Science Temple of America. There's kind of a catalog. There's like 18 different religions that are practiced in most prison ministries. And that's the crunch for the Catholic guys, I think. You have to be willing to not run those programs, but facilitate time in your chapel that they have the opportunity and even space for storing some of their equipment. In the case of the Muslims, you say, "Well, what equipment?" Well, they have rugs. Oh my gosh, do they have rugs? And they have to be rolled up because Catholic doesn't want to come in and walk on top of a Muslim rug, and a Muslim doesn't want to see a great big sign of the cross in front of the altar when he comes in. So you have to make the chapel neutral for everybody when they come in. So it's kind of a bare room, and then each organization or each religion kind of sets it up the way they want it. even people who are not chaplains, they have a lot of trouble coming through those big double doors that kind of electronically lock behind it. It's not a delicate sound. It goes, oh, I don't know, smack, and it's definitely, it locks electronically. And you have to smile at a camera, at least look at it. They identify, and then they'll open another door that you can get out into the actual prison area. So it's coming through that security gate is a reminder every day that you could be taken hostage. Bad things could happen. It is a prison. They're not choir boys that are in there for the most part. The presumption is, if someone's in the prison, they're there for a reason. It might be a mistake on the government's part to put him there. It could be sometimes. But the presumption still, if he's in a prison, he's there for a reason. On the other hand, just because he's in prison doesn't mean he has any less right to dignity and respect of somebody on the outside. And that's one of the roles that the chaplains can do. For example, some of the things that we do that has nothing to do, you think, with religion is like, if a member of the family dies, like mother or father, which happens quite frequently, if there's at the FCI, the Federal Correctional Institution, at the medium security, there are 1,000 inmates. And you can figure 1,000 inmates, there's somebody who's going to be having a death in the family on a pretty consistent basis, not the same ones. But when it happens, the chaplains can do something that nobody else in the prison system can do. We can, first of all, break the information, tell them about it, and then we can offer a phone call to their family to find out the details or whatever. And that compassionate phone call is known even for the people that don't use the chapel. There's lots of people that they're in prison, they're mad at the government, they're mad at everybody, and they really don't want much to do with religion, or they don't want much to do with the chaplains. Although we walk around with a collar on, and I'm amazed at people that are using foul language, and they say, begging your pardon, Father, as soon as and actually I'm not called Father a whole lot in the system, because there's a very high percentage of Hispanics, and so I'm called Padre more than anything. So one of the observations you make about corporal work of mercy was to kind of visit those in prison. Well, I got news for you. For the most part, people are not welcome in prison. And there's some good reasons why you're not welcome in prison. You're suspect to start with coming in to visit at a prison. One of the things that guards are trained to look for is contraband. And one of the easiest ways to get contraband into a prison is through a visitor. And this goes for somebody, mother or father or brother or somebody. It's pretty easy to get drugs into a prison, especially things you can put like in a balloon of some sort and pass it on to the inmate and have the inmate swallow it. It's a gross way of getting things into the place, but it happens, and so much so that there's cameras all over the place. So you're not, I guess, really welcome into a prison as a visitor. One of the rewarding things is it's really nice to know that the Catholic priest could bring something to the organization that not many of the other people do. And and I think a Franciscan has something. And of course, it's almost self-praise. I don't want to break my elbow, hit myself on the back, but I'm kind of known as the peacemaker in even among the inmates.